Coming to get you, Barbara.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
We have such sights to show you.
Who's laughing now?
Are you crazy? I'll kill you all. Than you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
They're here indeed. What is up?
Booby times, we are here.
I thought you said booby time for a second. I was like, wait a minute. I don't
Well,
think that's what you meant.
I mean, I have a little bit of cleavage going on today, not a whole lot.
I'm working on getting rid of it. So, they are going in the right direction.
I'm
The
trying.
sexiest noise to do with that.
I know, it sounds so great.
All right, well,
Hi,
thank you all
everybody.
for watching. We're leaving now because that was so
Okay,
good.
bye. Want to walk
Bye.
out the door right there.
Right up there. Oh my god, that'd be hilarious.
I know.
Oh.
Oh my god, I just got so excited. Speaking of, real quick, I can't hear you, but you can hear me. I can show y'all my outfits now since I moved stuff around. Move out of my way,
come on.
chair.
Bam. I like it. I dig it.
Again, I
Looks
can't hear you.
bananas
but-
good.
There we go. Hi. I can show you my outfits now.
I dig it. It looks very nice.
How exciting that you guys can actually see more of me and the set.
I think they appreciate both.
I hope so.
Strike a pose. She got a good pose in there.
Yay, Richard. Hello, Richard. You
What
made
is
it
up?
at the beginning.
You made it to the good part because
I know. I
think it's
missed
better than
you.
that. Oh man. But yeah, it doesn't get more exciting than that. It actually gets very bleak coming up. It's a little sad,
Yeah, it's
a
really
little
fucked up.
depressing.
I know. I had to start us off on a good note that you could actually see my whole body if I stand up. I don't know if any episode we've ever had to where I've been able to actually do a full hey, hi guys, here's my whole body.
No, not that. Maybe if we're on location and filming an area, maybe.
Yeah.
Even then, I don't think so.
I find it, I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys find it exciting, but I find it exciting because I like to dress up for this show.
True.
I like to dress up for the show. I like to dress up if we have a theme. I haven't done it in a while because, during the pandemic, we had to just limit it to screen. And so I was like, well, what's the fucking point? I got kind of, we get discouraged when, stuff like that happens. I think everybody got kind of bummed whenever the pandemic happened and they weren't able to do everything they wanted to do. And for me, that was part of it. I got excited about going to a studio every day and wearing outfits and dressing up for the theme of the show and stuff and wearing makeup and all that cool shit. But no,
Yeah.
I feel like I'll be able to now. I don't know. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, but I got excited about it. So
And no, it adds to the show. It adds to the mass.
It's sparkling water.
So technically, you're right.
Boom.
It's sparkling. Boom.
I'm just in a good mood. Why can't I just be in a good mood?
I love it. I am enjoying the heck out of it. Because we're about to bring you all way down with wrongful convictions. So everyone we're going to talk about today is much better than people we usually talk about. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But these people all got punished for something they didn't do, which is
unfortunately.
Not.
It's a fucking bummer. All right,
Real
I guess I'll start us off.
Yeah.
William Jackson Marion, who they called Jack, was born in Mahaska County, Iowa. And he was born in May 13th of 1849. And turns out he died not long after. He was only like in his maybe 40s or 50s, I believe, when he died. So turns out what happened was, excuse me, hello. Did I go?
You turned your camera off.
What?
Yeah.
I turned no camera. I did no such thing.
But no, there we go. Yeah. What the hell? That was weird.
I literally moved. My camera's not connected to any cords up here. That's fucking weird. And my mouse is over there. I didn't touch it.
That was straight up ghostness because like I didn't touch it. I was like, wait a minute. Like, what?
That's some paranormal stuff happening. I didn't fucking touch anything. I swear to God.
The next ghost story we're talking about. And this week we're talking about Lauren's house. Sucks to be her. No.
No, before it was Joe's house. Her house was fucking haunted.
There were some moments. I don't want to say nothing.
Her house was haunted.
That back alley.
Technology.
Tweakers.
You mean the front of my house? Where apparently tweakers love to ride their bikes back and forth on my street?
Like, oh God. This is such a tangent here, but at work, I was taking trash out at one of the accounts, like the ones we have left. And there was a dude cackling to himself with a mannequin head and then talking to someone who was not there in front of him. Well, two guys, I'm pretty sure. It might have been. The mannequin for sure.
The mannequins.
I love planes. Oh, mannequin. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, that was me. No, I'm just kidding. Those jokes.
No, that was actually pretty good.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, let's get back to this poor guy because he didn't do well. We'll say that.
No, it was a bummer, I will say. Okay, so this guy was married, living a normal life. But in May of 1872, he and his friend, John Cameron, went to Nebraska, or they were supposed to be on their way to Nebraska for a railroad job. Because, back in the day, like the 1800s, the railroads were fucking popping, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they were supposed to get on their, like, horse and buggy or whatever the fuck, and they were going to go down, and they were going to go together and work on these railroads. But it turns out John Cameron took off, and he was, I'm just going to say it, overall, he was missing for about 20 years. But during that time, he had gone to Mexico, and he went to Alaska, and he went to Colorado, and he was just like in Nebraska. Like he was just all over the fucking place, But on May 2nd of 1872, Jack returned to his mother-in-law's home with the horses that he had left with John Cameron. I guess the horse, what is it called? It was like a whole thing. Like not just the horses, but it was like the equipment and everything.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. He showed back up to his mother-in-law's house without John, and he showed up with all of John's stuff, essentially. And she was like, I don't know about you. Like, she was very suspicious of him.
I would be too.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, he leaves with a friend and his friend's stuff. And then he comes back a while later with just the stuff and no friend. To be fair, I would be suspicious as well.
Yeah.
In 1873, we'll find out why it was more suspicious.
Uh-oh.
There was a decomposed body that was found in Nebraska, and there were witnesses, some known, some unidentified, that supposedly said that they couldn't find Jack and, William Jackson Marion. They called him Jack. Sorry, I think I specified that in the beginning. His nickname was Jack. So Jack showed up with all this stuff, and then, they find a body, and they're like, what the fuck? We found a body, and this guy, Jack, has all this dead guy stuff. In December of 1882, Jack was later found in a jail cell for stealing. So when they had initially thought that he committed these crimes earlier, he was nowhere to be found. They just thought that he did it. So this whole time they're looking for him. Yeah, he wasn't there. They're looking for this guy. Like, they swore that he did it. And he was already in jail a little while later for something else that he possibly did do. We don't know. I think he did it. I think he was stealing.
The stealing, yeah, sure, that's okay compared to murder, at least.
Yeah.
That's actually hilarious, though, because there's a case for Jack the Ripper where one of them got off because he was in prison. Like, no, I killed someone like 2 years ago. I wasn't there. So it just reminded me.
I was killing somebody else, like over there. What the fuck are you arresting me for this one for?
Like, not my problem. Come on.
That's not my murder. Like, I want credit.
Oh, man.
But, okay, so Jack was in jail for stealing in 1882. So that was like maybe 10 years later, I guess. Because, 1872, they had left together. 10 years later, he was in a jail cell somewhere else, and they had been looking for him for the murder of this guy a year after they left, because he came back with all of the stuff, and no friend. But, he was in Kansas. They indicted him, and then he was on trial for like 2 months, and then he was convicted and sentenced to death, and eventually hanged. March 25th, 1887, but in 1891, John was found alive, and it was like, oh yeah, like, the reason why those horses and all the equipment were with him is because I sold all that shit to him. He didn't just steal it, like, I sold it to him, because you want to know why he was trying to get away? Why he sold his shit and bounced out?
Yeah.
He was trying to evade basically like a paternity allegation.
That ain't my kid. I'm out of here. Boom.
And it's not even like child support was fucking like a thing back in the day. But like, this dude was like, no, fuck that child support, fuck that kid, fuck this. I'm kidding. Essentially, this dude basically just bounced out of town trying to be a deadbeat daddy, and his friend got charged with his murder. He wasn't even murdered. He was alive. It was just some weird decomposed body. It was just a body that was found, but they were like, oh yeah, that's him. Like, no.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
People faking deaths.
Get away from them kids.
Get out of jail. Dude, oh my God, there was a dude a few years ago that did that. He said, oh, I died. Like, on camera, on a news station, basically saying, I died. He's like, no, I died. Because he was trying to evade child support. Like, this is the 1800s version of that. Essentially.
That's not how it works at all, man. Oh my God, that poor bastard.
Yeah.
I think the mom. Oh God.
No, I was just gonna say, on the 100th anniversary of poor William Jackson Marion's hanging, he was pardoned.
Oh, good.
But it took 100 years. 100 years after he was already hanged. The day of his hanging. Like, they convicted this guy and killed him.
Like,
he didn't even do it. He wasn't even close. He was just traveling.
I mean, it's
trying to help a homie out, I guess. Evade fucking child support.
What do you call it? That would be like if your buddy sold you like his PS5 or whatever it is now. Like, I got to get out of this town. Shaquish just friggin' trying to get me for child support. Boom, bounce. And oh my God, like and then because he doesn't post on Instagram anymore, you know, everyone assumes he's dead. But you have his PS5. They know the IP address, so you're fucked. Oh my God. Not only that, like, there's no way you're just gonna find a random dead body, like, boom, you're guilty time. Damn, that's just upsetting.
That guy.
Dead guy. You're a murderer. Boom, arrested.
Honestly, I want to know who all those witnesses were that said they saw him. Like, that's some fucked up shit. You motherfuckers. You are not real friends.
The only worst case of witnesses is probably the first, like, widely talked about, books have been written about it for years, is the Salem witch trials. Because the Salem witch trials was nothing but wrongfully convicted people hung, or I believe one of them was crushed to death, and a couple of them died in their cells from poor conditions because they were older people.
Right.
So it wasn't just there was no burning of witches in the U.S. It was all hanging. So
I do want to say too, excuse me, it is just a pet peeve of mine. When you're talking about humans being hung, it's called hanged.
Oh my goodness.
If you're hanging inanimate objects like a picture and you're talking about past tense, it's hung. I hung a picture. I hanged a human.
Well, don't do that. Don't hang it. Don't hang anybody.
You're not supposed to hang anybody. You're supposed to hung items. However, you know, I just wanted to make the clarification.
Excuse me, grammar Nazis. Oh, hanged. Oh my goodness. Anyway.
Hey, so it's a morbid thing that's been on my mind for a minute. It drives me crazy. I did do very well in English and grammar as a child, but I also love the macabre. So I want to make sure that we're saying things correctly here.
That's fair. I'll give you that. Hanged it is. So they hanged over 100 suspected witches, which is still nothing compared to the burning in France and England and I believe Germany.
And you can say burning, however,
because it is burning. It's Burning Man. Anyway, the cases that they did, though, the first trial was held in a pub. Like the first time they did it, because they were just getting into it. Yeah, it was not even that. It was their meeting hall, which was a tavern, and where they would have like town meetings, because it was still a small town at the time. And they decided, yeah, these people are guilty. Let's put them in prison until we find somewhere to, figure out the sentencing. And you would go through these cases, and the evidence would be these little girls are crazy because you're tormenting them demonically. And we have proof because you did it while we were all sleeping and we dreamt about it. So you're fucking dead. Good job. The girls, the accusers, would scream in pain at the accused. And in one case, there was a woman who everybody in town loved. Over 200 signatures were signed on her behalf. Like, no way she did this. She's a godly woman, all of the yada, 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 whatever else. And once they read not guilty out loud, the girls screamed so much that they overturned the not guilty back to guilty, and she was hanged like I want to say 2 months later. Yeah, like all of this happened so quickly.
Wait. She wanted to be guilty?
No. She
Or
was not
somebody
guilty.
else wanted her to be guilty?
The accusers.
Okay.
Yeah. Once all of these, like I think it ranged from like 17 to 11-year-old girls heard that she was not guilty, they just started screaming more, and that's somehow proof.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, sometimes equal rights are not a good thing, people, because if you listen to ladies, you'll get hanged. Boom.
Well, they were minors, first of
They
all.
they were crazy people. And then from there, though, people who were accusing other people in order to get out of it, because if you admitted to being a witch, almost nobody who confessed was hanged. So you would get away essentially if you just go along and accuse people until it goes to the point where they started accusing people with more authority, with more standing in the community, and then the governor and those across the sea, because it was still at the time the colonies versus the states. They actually paid attention, like, why are you killing all these people? Why do you have to build so many jails that we no longer have room for other stuff? So
that makes me wonder, like, how many were originally tried, and then how many were just tacked on because they opened their mouth, or because it's just
that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
God, that's so crazy.
So I think the story of the Salem witch trials is very deep. There's so many theories, like why did it happen? But honestly, it just happened because of mass hysteria and a lot of trauma. Because I believe one of the girls who was the accuser, she actually survived like raids on her original village to see her family murdered during the Black Hawk Wars. So she was messed up, and then you add on the religious fanaticism of the time in that particular area, you're going to get a girl who thinks that she sees the devil everywhere. And whether or not she thought she was doing something right or wrong or trying to help the community, it still led to people dying for no good reason. So
damn, that sucks. There's another theory too, supposedly, that all these people were not even well, of course it had half to do with their religious beliefs, and the other half was that they were eating like contaminated food. Yeah,
the ergot poisoning. Yeah,
the ergot poisoning, and they were just hallucinating. I don't know. I don't think I believe that.
The only problem, the big problem with that theory is that ergot kills you too, though. So the people who are hallucinating would have been the accusers, and they would have been dead. And this actually, it didn't just happen in Salem. It was all over the state. Like they were bringing people from other cities who are accused and dragging them back. And there's no way that the entire, I guess not the entire colony at the time was poisoned, because there was different farms, there was different grazing fields. There was just, it would have been such a mass hysteria. Like that's what would be in the history books right now. The time one of the colonies went crazy and started killing itself. Like you wouldn't even know about the Salem witch trials. The
only thing that I think could maybe kind of make sense with that, though, is that because things were still being imported, like flour was still being imported, things in general were still being imported, but I don't know. I'm just trying to be like devil's advocate here. I'm not saying I agree with it, because I don't think it was the poisoning, but just like I said,
it does happen though. I mean, that's how we get LSD and stuff. So it's not like it's not real. It's definitely real. So it's I don't want to try it, but apparently it's like a real evil trip. So if you're out there,
the only poisoning I want to endure is maybe mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, and ayahuasca.
I want to take a month for some microdosing. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Not ayahuasca, the mushrooms.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Just hit me up. We can help you.
I will be ready sooner or later. I promise. That's not too far in the distance. That one's gonna come up rather sooner than later. But yeah, the ayahuasca trips I hear are unbelievably helpful.
I'm so interested to try that. Definitely. I know that some people can do ayahuasca for like quitting things. Or just like changing a whole aspect of your life. Like, I don't know, just something specific, like learning how to save money. Like if that's all you focus on during your whole thing, you might be able to some people can do that. It's so crazy. Some people can use it like hypnosis. I'm not saying, you should every time or that you can. I'm saying some people do.
Yeah. It would be I'd be very curious to see the effects. I think that's a very interesting one. But as far as the Salem witch trials goes, it's just such a publicized one that we forget that these ladies and gentlemen, because there was a lot of men murdered as well, were all innocent. It was a lot of false confessions and kind of people just kind of backstabbing each other a little bit because it was a town that was already angry at itself, person to person. And it really is the first, I think, big case of wrongful conviction across the board were witch trials, not just here in the U.S., but across the world. So
it's true. Like people reference that very phrase anytime there's anything that's going on that people are not sure of, and they think that just people are just being attacked. The witch trials. Oh, it's just a witch trial. It's a witch hunt. You know? So that definitely resonates and has resonated throughout the years. Pretty interesting.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, I don't like it, but yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's It really does fit.
Right. Right.
The next one you want to go next?
I do have one more that I want to just get into really quick. It's not going to take long. Yeah. So Jane Dotoric, or Doderick. Jesus Christ. I couldn't figure out how to say her name for the longest. Okay, Jane Doderick in San Diego. She's now currently 73 years old. This happened back in 2000 when she was in her 50s. She was suspected of killing her husband, Bob Doderick, who went out running and was never seen again, apparently. They were just hanging out in their home, and she was doing something. It was just like a typical morning. They woke up, went, did their thing. She's over there doing something, and he's gonna go on a run. She's doing chores, I guess, for the horses or whatever, because they have like horses, and I'm not quite sure if they had a ranch. That's not really important to the story, but either way, she's busy doing chores with the horses, and the last time she saw him, he was trying to get on his shoes to go out running. She returned from doing chores 3 hours later. He hadn't come home yet. I guess she got worried, and they basically were like, what the fuck? And they were, I would be fucking terrified if you had a routine. Especially like having horses shows me that you have a fucking routine. There is not anything that you do during your day that is different than you do every single day. Because when you have a farm, or you have horses, or you have animals that you have to take care of, your routine is constant. That's something I definitely believe. Like, I know that if you have these animals, like anytime anybody says that they have animals and that they had to do chores, and I believe that you were there at that time that you said you were going to be there, because like you can't, like my dogs know at 4:55 that they are getting food in 5 minutes. they will come find me. You're witness to this. You've seen it.
Yep.
You've seen my dog. Like, excuse me. Hello. Is it food time yet? They're like right up your ass. And like, I guess he was going on a run. He never came back. So he was found murdered on the roadside on Valentine's Day, the day after he went missing. Early morning of Valentine's Day, which is so fucking sad. Especially because they were married for a long time too. Like, they were already in their 50s by the time he passed. You know, it's so sad. She was arrested. She was convicted of basically strangling him and beating him, which is like, to me, if you see this woman, her name is Jane Dotorik, Dotorik. Very small, fragile-looking woman. There's no way. And her husband wasn't this big, beefy dude either. Her husband was like a, an average-looking guy. There's no way that she would have beat her husband to death and strangled him. There's no way that she could have. Like, the fact that she was even arrested and convicted of this is so fucking crazy to me. It feels like they were just looking for somebody to blame.
Let me know if this is the right lady.
Yeah, I will. Let me see. Yeah, that's her. And even just think of her 20 years younger. 20 years, still, same frame, still very... Look at her. How is she going to beat the shit out of a grown man and strangle him to death? No.
I don't see it, yeah.
There's no way. But the reason why they arrested her for this was because supposedly they're having a very rocky marriage. And if they were to have gotten divorced, she would have had to basically pay him like 40% of her earnings. Or more. Like, she made a lot of money. She would have had to pay him more.
So it's definitely different than usual. That's usually it's flipped.
Yeah, definitely. They thought that maybe, I would have thought, maybe a life insurance thing, but no. They're saying, oh yeah, well, she would have owed 40 though. 40%.
It is not uncommon.
That's a lot, but I mean, it wouldn't have been that horrible.
Yeah, compared to killing the guy, like, I don't know. I think you could afford to lose some. You're too old to need all that money. Okay, I'm sorry, but I see on her face that she could totally murder, but her body, like you're saying, I don't see the ability to carry it out.
Honestly, not even her face. I know you're making a joke, but
she looks like a Stone Cold Killer.
You know who she reminds me of? She's gonna be, oh God, what's the last name? Jan, the one that was unfortunately abducted. Broberg, Jan Broberg. That's her in like 30 years. They look the same. They look exactly the same.
There's a lot of similarity. Just like you said, aged up.
Just look at their face. I encourage you to look. Anyway, poor Miss Jane was charged, and a part of the stupid fucking reason that they thought she did it is because they saw tire tracks from the truck that belonged to her. Like, at this point, they were really reaching. Either they really wanted to blame her, or they were just looking for something just to, like, sweep it under the rug and get it over with. They wanted to blame somebody so that people would stop asking questions. And that happens a lot, especially with missing persons. That happens all the time. I would not put it past this particular police department, for just blaming her just so that they could find somebody and just get it over with.
Oh, so sad but true. Yeah, like they'll, especially like you said, a missing person. Like, oh, there's a dead body. That's probably your loved one. Case closed. It's just, the laziness, and like there are certain cases that you can see the police, because sometimes police do a great job. You know, they will really investigate things, and there's something that you don't see in the everyday of life that will lead an investigator to finding this. And other times, you'll see guys like ostrich bury their head in sand so they don't have to do any work, and it's sad. It's very sad.
Sometimes. I don't know if you remember this, but back in 2017, I had a friend, Justin. We did an episode briefly talking about his case after it happened. My friend Justin was found outside of town in a different city. He was found burned. His body was burned. And nobody knows who did it. Nobody knows what happened. They still haven't released any information. They still don't know what happened. It's been years, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 5 years ago it happened. Nobody's saying anything. Part of the reason why I think they're not saying anything, and it could be part of the reason why a lot of cases go just basically like swept under the rug, is because of who they think the suspects are. It's possible that it was an HA member or something along those lines. We don't know 100%. I'm not saying that I know, because I don't know. We know that he had HA, Hells Angels, friends. You know, and I'm just trying to compare here, but it's basically like, if you know who might have done it, sometimes you don't want to get involved with them. And
it's true. Yeah.
That happens a lot, like back in the 80s and the 70s and 80s too, like with the mafia and stuff. Like sometimes because of who it is, you just don't want to get involved.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it still happens to this day. You know, in certain areas, it's just for whatever, no matter what happens, you don't talk to the police because something bad will happen to you. You
or
don't
someone
talk
you know.
Or someone you know. Gosh, yeah, even worse, honestly, and a lot of times. So that can lead to the police becoming desperate to just find someone to blame, so they can just close the case, and they can maybe not even look good for it, but just not have someone on their back constantly attacking for this information. So they will go to the whatever.
Or just say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, keep on, go on.
Oh, I was just saying, or just say we don't know who did it and not say anything and just hope that it'll go away.
Yeah. They will literally just, it's cold now. Sorry. Done. Which is I think the whole purpose of 48 hours? The show is just a matter of, in the first 48 hours, if we don't do anything, we're not going to find them. And that is mind blowing to me. That just, You're back. 1 second.
Hi.
Sorry.
Hi. Okay, but I will go back to Jane. There were, like I mentioned a little while back, there were some tire marks that they found close to his body that they try to blame her for and all this stuff. In 2015, there was new DNA that they found on the rope that supposedly had strangled him, and some scrapings under his fingernails that she had nothing to do with. His poor wife, of course.
Real quick, you said 2015 or
2015. So she was arrested for 15 years. She was in jail for 15 years for this, and she hadn't done it.
I have family members who are that old, and like to think that their entire life would be spent, rotting away because of something they didn't do. Just that's the part that scared me the most about hearing all these different stories. I think.
Just the first one that I was talking about. He was executed, and he didn't even do it. It's so fucking sad. Like, there were questions raised about people who were working on the case, even like.
Oh, really?
They were like, who's investigating these, nothing ever came of it, except for at the very end, the judge ruled that some of the evidence was inadmissible, and because of that, the prosecutors were no longer able to ethically proceed because of the insufficient evidence that they had. So she was released and the charges were dropped. But no, Gary James, she is not in prison. Like I just said, she was released and the charges were dropped, but she spent all that fucking time in prison for no reason. She literally knew from the beginning that she didn't do it. There was no solid evidence that she did it. And it's just so crazy to me that people are just able to be locked up. I thought it was innocent until proven guilty. But,
Yeah, and it's the more of these cases too, it seems like there's a very big pattern of that, of like the first one, the witnesses are no good, there's shoddy police work or corrupt police who actually pressure or bribe witnesses. And a couple of them I heard were only overturned because of DNA, and then sometimes they'll even go back like, hey, we have new DNA evidence, and they won't even allow it to be heard. Like, no, we're not going to do that. And they have to appeal and appeal and appeal until they finally get a chance to even show this is the proof you needed right here this whole time. It's almost textbook.
So crazy.
That how do they keep doing the same mistakes over and over again if there's a pattern of it, it's just so terrible.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's very bad, but at least she got out, like you said, because the first guy was executed. So
yeah,
it's better than that. I mean, technically,
I don't know. God, it sucks because there's no, as far as I know, there's no resources for these people who were basically fucked by the system. There's no resources for them to get all the money that they lost while they could have been actually working and free and living their life.
A lot of the cases I heard, usually it goes to the state. They will, like, one of them was like, okay, it's $50,000 for every year that you were in prison, and then they sue the city and the police department. I believe there was a lady in LA as well, or in California at least, where she got like $12 million after like 17, 18 years in prison. Yeah, there's quite a few times where they do get compensated, but it's like
not always though.
What are you gonna do? You just lost all that time.
There have been cases too that I've heard where people don't ever reimbursed. They never get anything back. They're just like, oh, our bad.
Yeah.
Sweep it under the rug. Sorry.
The next one. The next one I wanted to. Oh, close the book. Close the book on that one. Bam. And then they're screwed. There was literally, there's a documentary called The Thin Blue Line, and the guy in that one was accused by his buddy, and he was arrested for a murder that he didn't do, but his buddy said he did it. And it ended up that not only did he not do it, but when he got out, he got nothing because of that county's policies. And they were like old, like 100-year-old policies. So he just got screwed, not only out of his time, but any kind of earnings he could have had, any kind of like reputation, because they didn't find him, or they didn't reverse the thing. They just let him out under a certain like technicality in that particular area. And I can't remember the proper name for it. Kind of like what happened to the West Memphis 3, which shows I want to do next.
Yeah.
Basically, the West Memphis 3 got let out because they signed something saying that the state still calls them guilty, but they're no longer going to be punished. So
yeah, I heard that they're like guilty but not guilty.
Exactly.
Like if that even makes any fucking sense, it makes no sense to me I don't get it.
You're 100% right. There's no way that makes any sense, because not only does that mean that they are considered guilty still, it means no one will ever be able to look for who actually murdered those 3 kids. So not only is it a slap in the face to the judicial system, to the West Memphis 3, but to all the family members of those kids who were killed.
Basically, they're saying to me, this is what I hear. Okay, so we know you didn't do it, but you guys are just going to say that you did it, so we don't have to actually look for who did it.
That's exactly what they're doing. Exactly. Like, they could have just written that on a piece of paper and signed it.
Yeah. They're like, we don't want to look for who did it, so you guys just say you did, and we'll let you go.
So we're going to buy you a round table pizza, and we're going to call it a day.
That's basically it. That's so disgusting. That's so disgusting. But, that's the South.
Yeah, that's friggin', that's West Memphis for you. That's
the South for you.
The case I was talking about right beforehand, where the guy also got nothing, that was in Texas. That was like in like deep South Texas. So I don't want to malign the southern states, but get some of your shit together, please.
They're the ones that wanted to secede from the Union. Not us.
Sometimes I do too. So I don't blame them. I want to leave too sometimes.
I want to secede from this fucking woke, disgusting ideology.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm actually gonna have to wrap early tonight, so I want to cover the rest of these guys before we do. Though I got the family like pouring in right now.
Yeah.
Damien Eccles, Jesse Miskelly, and Charles Baldwin were all kids, very young kids, 18 the oldest. One of them had special needs, not to the point where like he couldn't take care of himself, but to the point where he was needing help in life. Like he was very susceptible to coercion, especially to authority figures, who basically, if you listen to the tapes, were coaching him on how to confess to a murder he didn't commit, and also tell on the other people who he didn't actually know all that well. It was like a classmate kind of thing, if you could even call it that. It's like, can you remember some faces from your high school? Like, oh, I know you went to my high school, but we never actually knew each other kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. And the only reason these kids were pointed out was because they dressed different, basically, than the rest of them in the area. They were like more goth clothes, a lot of black, a lot of like band T-shirts. Yeah, you would have been probably accused along with them. They would have tried to get you. I would have made it because I'm a clean cut American boy, so it's okay. I'm fine. I'm gonna live. No, I'm just kidding. One was sentenced to death, one life, and then one 25 years to life, I believe, if that's the correct order. And the only reason they took the deal that they were given, that terrible deal, was because if they didn't, they might have to keep fighting. And it was getting much closer and closer to the execution date for one of the boys. So what can you do? Like either you take the deal and you never get to clear your name, or you let someone else die in prison or die at the execution block for the same thing you're trying to fight for. So it was, oh God, it's a horrible story. We could do a whole episode just on them and how horrible the people around them were. But,
I would like to.
I think we should do that soon.
Yeah. Maybe we can add that to the last subject of the month because we only have one more topic to pick.
Please. Yeah, please.
So let's do Memphis 3 on the 23rd of this month.
Real quick, I want to read this. Yeah. What do you call it? When he met Jason, he looked and saw how I was dressed. He told me that if I was in West Memphis, Arkansas at the time, it would have been the West Memphis 4. So he's got, Richard. It's just how close-minded and backward some people are. And there's whole areas of it like that in the whole world, Like, I believe, oh my gosh, Martuquita or something like that. It's a newer African country that only banned slavery in the same year that the iPhone was released. I believe 2000.
God. No
There
way.
are areas in our world where it was there's still slavery going on to this day, but this was the last country to actually say it's bad.
God, that's crazy.
So
We're gonna
just
have to
remember
get into
that.
that shit too.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Eventually.
yeah, it sucks. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
But I'm gonna I gotta let everyone go a little early tonight. I know we only have like 5 minutes left, but I gotta close all this out so we can get back to work.
Yep.
Well, so
thank you guys for tuning in. We love you. Appreciate y'all.
sorry for the question.
Yeah, it's fine. That's what this show's about. We love to make you sad every week.
And it's 100% honest. Everything we're saying is what we know is as close to the truth as possible.
Right. It's not our fault. We didn't do it. We just tell you about it.
Yeah. Just like the people we talked about. They didn't do it. We didn't do it. Boom.
Right. And next week we're going to be talking about the Johnson & Johnson lawsuits. That will be fun because those are also really awful. The next week we're talking about the Italian serial killer, the Monster of Florence, and then we're gonna be doing the Memphis 3 after that.
I believe his name,
Instagram.
His real name was Chef Boyardi.
Stop it! Get out of here.
All right. Sorry, guys.
Follow us on Instagram. Thanks, schools. Bye. We love you.
Bye, people.